the trade association produces an hour-long podcast every day. That's an interview show.
What?
And I was like, why? You know, and she's like, I want you to convince people that this is a bad idea. It's like, this should be easy. Like, what painter is sitting there being like, I got to listen to an hour-long podcast every day?
No,
right?
that's
I don't know.
insane,
So I ended up having to tell him, you know.
I mean,
hey, by the way, you can just record one that's 3 hours long once a week, and the guy will listen to it over the course of the week because unlike anything else.
Dude, though, it's like habits, though. Like in a company, especially when there's like, I mean, our show is like there are 5 people involved. We've been doing it the same way for 5 years, and I was like, you know, we could record for like a week and a half once a year.
Yeah,
and they're all like, what? This is nonsense.
So that's a great move, but the thing is about it that, I mean, I've received multiple complaints because people know that I edit that show, and they say, where are the BiblioFiles episodes?
Oh, no.
I want BiblioFiles episodes. One of those people is upstairs right now, Abby Strehle, big BiblioFiles fan.
True.
She's like,
I'm like,
where's the show?
I'm very flattered.
Yeah. She says it's her favorite houseweart podcast.
That's
she said.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's literally our aspiration.
Yeah. Which is funny because she didn't mention this podcast. And are we going? Are we rolling?
Oh, we're rolling?
We're rolling?
Okay.
Oh, beautiful.
All right.
Love it.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
A little bit of a peek behind the curtain
love
for everybody
that.
who was
it's
around. But
beautiful.
We got to sync that.
that's what happens when you have a
Dude.
camera. Tell us about this podcast you're working on, though.
Yeah.
The podcast I'm working on?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, it's called BiblioFiles. Well, there are 2.
No, the other one, the one that you're recording 2 to 3 hours.
Oh, the 2 to 3 hours show. Oh,
Yeah.
my gosh. Well, I'm going to get in trouble for making this public. Sorry, Whit.
You don't need to say anything specific about it. Just give us the general.
Well, so it's like it's evolved.
Whoa.
Initially, it was like, hey, we have funny conversations whenever we talk together.
Yeah.
We should just put this on the air.
Yeah.
And maybe people will like to listen to it.
Yeah. Monetize your inside jokes. I get it.
Pretty much that's the plan.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
common path. Yeah.
But then before long, we realized we're both 2 serious individuals who like can't have a conversation without making it really, really real, really, really fast.
Yeah.
Which like is a double-edged sword. The content improved dramatically, but then also it got more private.
Yeah.
And so we've yet to actually release an episode.
So this is kind of funny that you mentioned this because last week we had our
Mom
on for the pod, and during the Patreon episode, things got really real all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And then it was like we were talking out like
Some
I'm not
stuff.
going to say trauma, but we
Yeah.
were talking out like, you know, we understand that it was tough to raise us and like going through all this stuff.
Tell me
Yeah.
about your father.
Yeah, no, it's so funny because like when you're on the mic, you just sort of feel like you're a little floaty.
Yeah.
You can go for it, and you know you're trying to monetize it in a way, and you know make content. And so yeah, it seems to be like when you have a mic in front of you.
This is the Howard Stern principle.
Yeah, you're
You
trying
know.
to fill space.
He gets people on the show, and it'll just be some guy who's been in the public eye for 45 years, and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, this is the first time I'm going to tell anybody ever I'm molested on the biggest show in America."
On the biggest show in America.
Yeah.
What is it about that big a number that makes it feel like no one else is in the room?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I
it's the
think that's what it is.
We all
Yeah.
know what this feels like, by the way. There are like millions of people listening to this
Oh,
show.
oh, yeah.
To this show.
100%.
Yeah.
Number 2 in America right now.
Monomaniacs Nation.
No, we made the mistake on this other show. We made the mistake of trying to talk through multiple Christopher Nolan like time films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did like Interstellar,
Already a
Inception,
mistake, yeah.
and then we landed on Tenet.
Yeah.
And then we did 9 hours on Tenet.
Yeah.
9 hours.
9 hours, just trying to make sense of what is fundamentally a terrible movie. No,
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, it's freaking terrible.
Tenet's a bad movie.
Oh, it's so bad.
I walked out of the
Like,
film and I was like, "What the hell?"
I'm such a huge Christopher Nolan fan. Like, I love his movies, and that movie was incomprehensible and miserable. Like, there's a line that hangs over the entire plot of the movie. Don't try to understand it, just feel it.
Yeah.
That's literally in the script.
Well, it's capital R romantic, you know.
Oh, my God.
But the problem with that is that he's so focused on crafting things that people like, and he's trying to say some sort of a message, and a part of it is the way that it's crafted. So saying something like that sort of undercuts that whole thing. In my
absolutely.
mind, right? Because it's like, oh, I thought this was about us trying to work through and understand the crazy things you were trying to say.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen this movie, by the way.
Oh, really?
No,
Come
no.
Oh,
on,
my
dude.
gosh. You have to
No,
watch
I mean,
You should watch it.
So
you guys are making a great case over here. As
the
to
other
why.
line is like, can you imagine an inverted bullet traveling through a body? That would be devastating. And we're like, hang on. Bullets traveling through bodies. I think that's kind of the point, dude. They're devastating no matter which direction they're moving.
Yeah. It's devastating because you'd be embarrassed because you should have seen it coming because it's inverted. Yeah, based on the film.
Okay,
Right?
no.
No, I don't know. What if we were to decide, one of the funniest things about that movie is that there's just a totally dropped plot thread in it.
Oh, yeah.
That nobody mentions because
Just one?
the movie's so Well, at the beginning in the opera house, when you see that guy's keychain,
Oh, yeah.
never comes back. And the camera sits on it for a solid 15 seconds, and you're like, this is gonna be important later. Is it? It's like this is
that's like the anti-Chekhov's keys, man. You know, it's just like dangle
Chekhov's
it,
key.
dangle it in front of you and just
Yeah,
throw it,
exactly,
throw it behind
exactly.
them,
It's
yeah.
ridiculous, but I'm glad you guys are getting down to the deep things.
Yeah. I mean, you were
yeah.
talking about, things got real. I'd imagine in that 9 hours, you said some truths about yourselves, about Nolan.
We started fighting each other. Like
Yeah.
when you're talking about a piece of media that nonsensical, like you're like, it was like this. No, it wasn't. Yes, it was. And pretty soon you're just bickering on the air.
Yeah.
And like maybe that's good content. I
Dude,
don't know.
you're making this sound so great to me. 9 hours of that, sign me up, dude. Where can I go to
Oh my
listen?
God.
You gotta hope alcohol was at least a little involved. Were you guys stone cold sober?
No.
Okay, that's good.
no,
I'm glad.
sir, we
I'm
were
glad.
not.
Yeah, that
because
makes sense,
if you
yeah.
guys were sober, I would be like, all right. that's just autism, what you're describing. Right? Yeah. You're like soberly arguing about Tenet for 9 hours straight. It's like you're on a whole other level.
Very, very serious.
Very serious about
Hat
this.
is like-
I don't know if you guys realize.
Guys, you realize what about the keys?
Yeah.
Again,
That's okay because I'm uncomfortable saying that because on this show we've repeatedly said there's a strong autism that flows through the Monomaniacs gene.
Right on.
Right?
It's
That's
true.
a superpower, man.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a focus. Some scientists claim it's the next stage of evolution. I don't think so.
They seem really happy.
Yeah, the next stage of evolution is being
Well,
really good at building model aircraft carriers. That's the next
true.
stage in evolution. That's really going to
Once
take
we
us over
crack
the edge.
that, and all of humanity can build a model aircraft carrier, then sky's the limit
We're
at
there.
that point.
We're there at
just
that point.
cruising off into space with
Yeah.
that bad boy.
So you've been living it up. You have two
man.
other podcasts. For people who don't know, you work for the Center for Lit.
I do.
Which is your a company that your father and mother started.
That's
You
right.
know,
That's
cool, like homeschool curriculum, literature focused.
Yeah.
I edit their podcast. I just want to let people
The
know.
greatest editor.
Yeah.
who was ever
wow.
born.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying this because this is a professional concern. Me and his brother and his family go way back, so this is
True.
we're good friends. But you also have two podcasts.
Yes.
BiblioFiles, which kind of talks
right.
about media and the eternal thing simultaneously, and then also something that I want to talk a little bit
Take
more
notes on
about.
that. That's
Actually,
a good tagline.
yeah.
I think it's better marketing copy than I've ever been able to
Yeah,
come up with.
that's called broadcast efficiency.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Broadcast
Yeah.
efficiency.
That's
And
why
then-
you pay him the big bucks,
Yeah.
right? There you go.
I wish they were bigger.
Yeah. And the other show is How to Eat an Elephant.
That's right.
Which I kind of want to talk a little bit about because
Okay.
it's hilarious in my mind.
Cool.
You, your wife, and your sister, Megan, all got together and were like, okay, let's read a super long book incrementally over the course of, at this point, years.
I think it's like 18 months
Yeah.
right now for one novel.
Okay.
Yes,
yeah.
which is Tolstoy's War and Peace.
Wow.
And so,
So I haven't heard about this podcast before.
Okay.
So I'm ignorant of this fact. And how large are the segments you talk about each individual episode?
Well, it's 5 chapters at a time.
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
That's like a bite, right?
That's
How
not-
do you
that's
eat
not
an elephant?
Yeah, it's true. One piece at a time.
Thank you.
Right,
Bite.
Yeah, one bite at a time.
One bite at a
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
So
5 seems like a legitimate number of chapters just in general.
you can't rely on Tolstoy to do anything normal, though.
That's true.
Like
That's true.
occasionally the chapter will be like a 3-paragraph segment, and
Yeah.
you're like, "Welp, maybe we should have done 6 this week."
Yeah. my favorite thing is receiving an episode that's 30 minutes long, and I'm like, he talked about philosophy for 5 chapters, didn't he?
Got him. Dude.
Never host a show about Tolstoy, friends.
Yeah. So I'm just curious because that's a sort of thankless job, and I know you guys have a Facebook community and there's people who listen, but just every week talking again about that. I mean, what's going through your brain when you sit down in front of that microphone? Because sometimes I can hear there's a little bit of a struggle.
Oh, there's a struggle. Well, okay. So first of all, my wife is loving this.
Yeah.
Because she's often coming to me like, "Hey, listen, people are listening to the show because we're interested, and if you are like audibly upset,
Yeah.
no one's gonna want to listen.
You
to
got
this
to put
show."
on a happy face.
Yeah.
For this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I
It's
know
easy
this.
it's easy in month 5.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's harder in month 11.
Oh,
and by
yeah.
month 18, like, no, it's a beautiful novel. And like, I mean, you don't have to say that it's War and Peace, right?
Yeah.
But it's spectacular. But I do feel like Tolstoy, he kind of circumlocutes, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he wants to be sure you understand the point, and even if he's articulated it once very well, he's
Yeah.
gonna do it again.
Oh yeah.
So anyway,
The operative word is didactic for sure.
very
Which is
Yeah.
a big move for the guys who wrote those, like the Dumases, the Dickens, and the Tolstoys.
Dude, he reminds me of Dickens.
Yeah.
kind of
Oh,
a
for
lot.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the names is cool.
No, well, you can't pronounce them.
Yeah. I mean,
like,
you
Pickwick.
can't pronounce them.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Maybe Justin Jackson would have an easier time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Justin.
Justin Jackson. No, I
Good old
started.
Justin.
Yeah, good old Justin. Maybe we'll have him on one day.
Oh, get him on the show.
Yeah, we
Good
still have
old
yet to have
JJ.
a professor on. We got to
I
actually
know.
make that happen.
I
We've been
know.
trying to get Miles Smith on for a while, which we think is.
Miles, you mean? Are you talking about Miles James Smith, the fourth of his name, by
Yeah.
the grace of God and the will of the people, King of America?
Yeah.
True.
Yes. You gotta
America's
get that
one
guy
true
on the show.
monarch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm excited.
We'll,
yeah.
we'll get him here. Yeah.
Eventually. I was at a Mexican restaurant the other day, and he was just at the bar.
At the bar?
And
Was
just-
he alone?
Yeah, just him. Just having
Dude,
a,
that
Just
is
crushing
That
margaritas.
is Chad energy right
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
dude. Yeah.
Oh my
Not only are
gosh.
you drinking alone at a bar,
As
but
he-
it's in a Mexican restaurant, a family Mexican restaurant.
As
that
he would-
anybody,
as
yeah.
he would say himself, frat star, dude, bro.
yeah. That's dude, bro.
Oh, unfortunate.
Yeah.
Goodness. All right. So we have a particular podcast. We're talking about other podcasts. We're
Yeah.
talking about their pitches.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. We got a podcast
Which
right
is
here
imperative.
that we're recording right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Tonight.
Some people have said that we don't explain what the show is about enough. Here I am to tell you what it is about. The show is called Monomaniacs. We talk about a guest's monomaniacal obsession of a recent week, right?
Yep.
And then we deconstruct it, and then we probably only talk about it for a quarter of the show and talk about other things.
Yeah.
It's okay. You know, it's a loose structure, but it's a good one. So I ask you, Ian, what is your monomaniacal whale of the week?
Whale of the week.
Oh, real quick, we just had a dog bark
She's super excited. What's
about the
going on,
whale of the
Liz?
week.
All right,
go
you're
ahead.
good to go.
Okay, so
Sorry to take the wind out of your
I've
sails.
agonized about this
Yeah.
because, like, you get invited to be on Monomaniacs, and
That's
it's your
true.
one shot at
I know.
glory.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Millions of people are watching.
There's so, as I mentioned before, millions of people. But then you clarified the week of the week.
Yes.
So that's
You know,
helpful.
it's not a super broad area. It's
Right.
very specific.
So I think this week the obsession is the beautiful bass stylings of Mr. Joe Dart.
Oh, whoa. We're going to talk a little bit about Wolfpack.
We're gonna talk some
Ooh.
Wolfpack. Let's talk
Okay.
some Wolfmania for a
Interesting.
minute.
All right. Okay.
Another music episode. Not what I was expecting, but go
I'm
on.
down.
You're a
I'm
bassist
down.
yourself.
And if you want to do another maniacal obsession, we have got more.
Yeah,
No,
I'm sure you
let's
do.
let's move
Let's
down the
roll
list.
through-
Let's
so,
start
yeah.
with Volpac.
So the reason this is because my little brother Calvin, who just graduated this week, props,
Yeah.
had
Good boy.
had a band.
Good job.
Yeah.
He put together a band for a one night only event called the Funky Boys.
Nice.
Now let me tell you, these boys can play. They're
Yeah.
very, very good.
Are you a member of the Funky Boys? Are you a Funky Boy?
Well, I've been called a funky boy before.
Okay.
Yeah.
but not
Um,
within this.
Not in polite company, though, I
This-
assure you.
in the privacy of your own home.
Yeah.
Only in private. No, so what happened is the bassist for my little brother's band, Shane, he's a great player.
Yeah.
Is a great player on a college campus on the bass. And so he's in like 9 bands.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And so he had so many different performances to handle this week of graduation that when it came to the Funky Boys set, there were a couple of Wolfpack tunes that he couldn't like learn in time.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he was like, "Hey, is there any way you could you sit in?
Yeah, I could
you
switch
handle
it.
this?"
Yeah.
So now I'm not going to miss a chance to play with my brother.
Yeah.
It's true.
Like backing your brother up.
You
on
know,
that-
whether or not
that's-
it's, Monopoly.
whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We're going to play. But then I had the unenviable task of trying to play a Joe Dart.
Yeah. So I got to
in
ask,
public.
because, knowing a lot of Joe Dart bass parts, what songs were you asked to play? Were you asked to play the
I was
Joe
not.
Dart bass song?
I was
Okay.
not. It was not Deantown. Shane
Yeah.
actually did Deantown.
Oh, wow. Impressive.
He did it. I
Yes.
think he did it 6 BPM slow,
Yeah.
but he nailed it.
Yeah.
Like he absolutely nailed it.
Those 16th
I was-
notes are, they're a bitch.
I mean, yeah, I was pretty impressed.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
impressed. Yeah, he killed it. So no, I did Wait for the Moment,
Yeah.
and I did Animal Spirits.
Nice.
So it's been a long time, probably, since you've played in a college band. Right?
Absolutely.
So would
Yeah.
you say that had
Here,
a lot
this
to
is
do
a
with the
CHP
hype?
Showdown winner, Holy Moses, that we're
Oh,
talking
Holy
to.
Moses.
One of the greats of Hillsdale College
Of the
student
tiny,
bands.
this tiny college in the
Yeah,
middle
yeah.
of nowhere, Michigan.
Yeah.
yeah.
There you go. But yeah, so like, were you mostly, it's, good music, tough music, but you get to play and relive those glory days once again. Was
I
that
don't
was that
know,
in your
dude.
mind, or is that
It's not a nostalgia thing because you're
Yeah.
too focused on the performance, right?
Well, that for
Yeah.
sure. But then also, it's so about like my brother's last hurrah of his
Yeah.
college experience that it was just like a joy to watch. Like I was
that's
having
great.
too much fun watching him
Yeah.
to really
right
focus
back.
myself.
Yeah. Dylan is leaving Oh wait, is this?
Bye, Dylan.
What are we doing here?
Just had to let the dog
Hope
out.
you find your dad.
I should have called the producer to do it. I don't know. But that dog, if you get her going, she's not. I'm sorry for the interruption.
Okay, yeah.
everybody.
Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
We
It's
had
very
more,
unprofessional.
We had more important things to talk about.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't about reliving the glory days. It was about backing my brother on this awesome night, and he was very, very good. But it did throw me for a loop because I've been practicing trying to learn some Joe Dart tunes for years, just in my basement by myself.
Yeah, that's what it's like.
It is, and you have to put in lots of hours because the boy is really, really good. And here's what I've come to is that Joe Dart is not probably the most like heady intellectual musician of all time. Like he knows his stuff. Mostly what he is a technician.
Yeah.
Like an insane technician.
Yeah.
To the point that you can actually know every single note and you can have figured out all the voicings, you can know all the fingering, and you still can't do what he can do.
Yeah.
Because it's an athletic aptitude.
Yeah,
He's so fast and he's so precise.
It's the difference because, as another bassist, though, not as decorated as our good friend over here.
Get out of here.
As another bassist, there's like...
Come on, no stolen bass valor.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
I'm going to get yelled at a mall. It's okay. I have a mug that says world's okayest bassist, which I think is a good indication.
Send me one. After
Yeah,
the show.
exactly,
Yes.
right? I
Yeah,
feel like
for
most
fraternity.
bassists are world's okayest bassists.
That's right, yeah.
The one thing we can do is pick 16th notes, which guitar players can't do. All right. But regardless, because you've got, when I'm thinking about great bass players, there's like Jaco Pastorius, there's, gosh, why am I'm blanking on his name from Rush.
It's not. It's Geddy Lee.
Geddy Lee, right?
Yes.
Which is a totally different scene, right? But like,
I've never spent a lot of time with Geddy Lee.
Yeah, well, in my mind, they kind of represent similar, like two opposite ends of a spectrum. Where Geddy Lee is a lot closer to Joe Dart in that he plays in Rush, prog rock band, a band that I've been made fun of on numerous occasions for having seen in concert
On this podcast.
You saw Rush in concert.
Their last
We
tour,
did,
like a
yes.
farewell tour
Unbelievable.
before Peart quit and then died, which rest in peace.
R.I.P.
But he, so same thing. It's like incredibly technical, rhythmically complex, and whatnot. Not very, I would say, outside the box.
Yeah.
In the way that, like a Jaco Pastorius is, where it's like, oh, this guy is doing jazz, where he's
Well,
screaming
so
into
much
his
theory.
guitar, and so much theory. It's all that understanding, but there's a vast difference in my mind between theory, performance, and the funk.
The funk.
Which I think is the archetype, if you would agree,
Absolutely.
that Dart kind of
Oh
exhibits.
yeah, it's all about pocket, dude.
Yeah.
All about the pocket.
Yeah.
For sure, for sure. I think this is why Pino Palladino is my favorite bass player.
Yeah.
I love Pino. I think
Who does he play for? Is that somebody who's ignorant?
So
And I act as the audience in this.
he's the
I am the chorus.
he's been John Mayer's bass player
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
since the John Mayer trio, since the blues trio that he put together.
Yeah.
And then he's just kind of been on every recording and every show since. He doesn't read music. Fascinating fact.
Weird. It's not, honestly, it's not that hard.
No.
I'm surprised he hasn't just sat down and
Exactly.
figured it out.
Yeah, like give him 15 minutes.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't read music. Not much for theory, but he just has the best feel of any bassist around.
Yeah.
He's got that funk.
He's got the
Yeah.
funk.
And so
yes.
that, as somebody who has zero funk, I'm funkless. I was born
Not a
without the
funky
funk.
How is it
G.
possible that you're funkless with that beard on your face?
I don't know. There's
Not a funky
so-
bone in his body, dude.
It's because, and I talked to my bass instructor about this, and we literally did multiple clinical attempts to funk me up, as it were.
If you're clinically trying to create funk,
No, I know.
like you're
That
lost.
was a
imagine-
sign of desperation.
I just
Oh,
imagine you
no.
in a lab, and Hank's there, and he's got a doctor's coat on.
Yeah, yeah.
and, he's got the clipboard, and he's like, "All right." And
Literally just don't play.
Yeah.
I'd be like, crap. Because that's what it is,
Check.
right?
Yeah.
It's all about having this cosmic understanding of absence.
There's got to be space.
There's got to be space.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm a swing bass player. I play a lot of metal and prog rock. It's like when it comes to it, it's like, nope, I got to play something. I'm here. I got to play something, right? But you got to it's about the feel. It's about
Well,
the feel.
Dart might be a great entry point for you because he's never not playing ever.
Yeah. That's actually
It's a
the one difference.
ceaseless stream of notes.
Yes.
all the time.
Yeah. It's funny that he made, the thing about Deantown, much of the more iconic portions of it are not just him playing 16th notes, but the thing that everybody remembers is him just sitting there just playing 16th notes. And that's
and
honestly,
longer.
that's actually weirdly punk, for him to be like, oh, what's the most impressive thing I could do? One note really fast.
Really, really fast.
yeah.
For a really, really long time.
For a really
There
long
you go.
time.
Yeah,
so.
it's that endurance you were speaking of, that athleticism.
It's
Yeah,
true,
that
dude.
makes a
He's just
difference.
faster and more precise.
Okay, so You, of course, are a pinnacle athlete, just in general.
Yeah.
right?
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I mean, I can tell just by looking at you. You're a pinnacle athlete. How did the performance go earlier this week when you had to face your athleticism, in such a high stress situation?
It was fine. I faked it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're cool. Fortunately, like the lead lines of those two songs are pretty slow and accomplishable.
Yeah.
The breakdowns on the songs is where he does all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And I learned the parts and then get in the performance, adrenaline's pumping. The boys are playing it like at least 5 BPM faster
Yeah,
than
of
the
course.
album.
Classic.
Right? And so like it
Who was
just
on the
completely
drums?
falls
Who
apart.
was on the drums? Was it Drew?
Yeah, it was Drew.
Oh gosh, that guy's a machine.
Yeah.
He's an animal.
Yeah, dude. That guy can play. He can play for sure.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So that's the funny thing about. I mean, I think it depends on your personality type. Depends on how you perform under pressure. I'm similar in that respect. Where I'll sit there and be like, oh yeah, the one part of the song where everybody's listening to the bass. I'll spend hours learning this, and then
it,
second you get there like, well,
All right, like
I'm gonna fake it. I know the root chords.
I've had to do this before, and so like I had some backdoors planned. Like,
Yeah.
okay, if you can't hit it, do this, and no one will know.
Yeah.
And so it was fine. But
Yeah.
it was beyond like it was so fun.
How funk literate was the audience? Would you say? Like, would they?
I
Have
don't
known?
know because I didn't know any of them.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
that was another thing that makes it really different from when I was in college. It's like you're in college, you're playing at like a college like event. You know every single face in the room.
Mm-hmm. And they're all hyped to see you. They're all bumping you up,
Or
and it's
throwing
more,
gummy bears at your face.
Sure, which in its own way is a sign of respect.
In some ways, like
could take
maybe.
it.
Yeah.
Sure you
I'm
could.
trying to be positive, Ian.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. So, what other songs do you guys play?
Those were the only two I was in on.
I know I'm saying, but did they play like anything other than Wolfpack, or was it just a Wolfpack cover band?
No, they did
Silk
three
Sonic?
or four. They did 3 or 4 Wolfpack. They didn't get any Silk out.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like funk music white people listen to, Because Wolfpack, Silk Sonic.
That is perfect.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember some of the other tunes in the set.
Yeah.
Some of them are ones that I had not heard before.
Mhm.
I should text my brother and be like, hey, what were the songs?
Yeah. It was funny because the biggest Wolfpack fan I've ever met in my life was Black, which just blew my mind. I was like, what?
The ultimate compliment.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
Wolfpack.
Honestly.
Exactly.
Oh, you're real.
They
Yeah,
exist. Yes.
Yeah,
dude.
that's funny. I was listening the other day. I was listening to some Parliament and Parliament Funkadelic.
Definitely never heard Parliament.
Never.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They're like one of
Your
the
Shad just sort of showing off to the camera again.
Look,
Just flexing.
but the funny thing about them is that they're famous for the song Flashlight. I don't know if you've probably heard Flashlight,
Nope.
but okay.
See, the best thing about this is that he's the one that's actually looking like the dumb outsider, right?
Yeah.
Even though he's smarter than we are in this instance.
Okay, well, what I was
That's
going to
for
say,
future.
what I
Oh,
was
yeah,
going to
yeah.
say is that for a long time in the '80s, during the general transition pop culture wise, from like funk and R&B into the early days of rap music, funk music got insane. Like the album that Flashlights on. I forget what it's called, but it's like space themed, and there's literally a song which is just the funkiest bass riff you've ever heard, super tight drums in the background, and then just the lead singer, George Clinton, get in front of the microphone and then just sang space phrases with reverb over his voice for 6.5 minutes, and you're thinking, yeah, no wonder we moved past this.
Yeah.
No wonder we were
That's more
done.
of a death knell than anything else.
Yeah, it's like
Oh, my
okay,
word.
and of course, like nothing but props to that, but
I mean, hey, you have something on the line. No props from me.
No
Haven't
props-
even heard the
no
song.
props
It
from
sucks.
Dylan Shadrach.
Haven't even heard it. Sucks.
So how often are you playing nowadays?
Not often.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
That's
another
another
thing. I was
great
pretty
thing
rusty.
about sort of being pushed into this kind of thing,
Right.
is that it forces you to learn and to practice.
For
Right.
sure.
One of the things that I've noticed, as a guy who plays the banjo,
Plays the banjo.
plays the banjo.
Yeah.
Through college, right? Like Shad and I were at relatively adjacent levels of skill when we first entered.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really putting the practice in. But then a bass player is a highly demanded member of any band.
Yeah, pro
and
tip,
there's
if you
not
wanna play all
enough
the
of
time,
them.
pick up the bass.
If you want to be in a band, the thing about the banjo is nobody,
Yeah.
nobody wants that.
Hey, we were in a
band,
short-lived
dude.
band our freshman year where you played banjo,
Mhm.
but as soon as the guy who started the band to impress a girl ended up dating that girl, the band stopped.
It
And then
disappeared.
this was the best part about
Oh,
that.
dude,
A
yeah.
year later, when they'd broken up, he gave us all a call. We all got back together. A girl shows up to the first meeting. And then we never meet again, and they start dating.
Yeah, just once again impress a girl.
Yeah, I'm not going to say names. Yeah, but because
I feel you.
I mean, there are some reasons to start a band. I think Girls is one of those.
That's true.
I mean, but also
depends on the band.
Yeah. And especially because it's one person attempting to get a girl.
Yeah, and we're all just accessories.
It's just excited.
Yeah, but the difference actually, Dylan, wasn't that I was so in demand. It was because I was so depressed my sophomore year that I practiced 2 hours a day.
Yeah, I mean that's all the
difference.
Yes, yeah, but you had things to practice.
When you're locked in your room, this is why I say like people with divorced parents shred the best.
True.
Because I can just imagine them pimpled up, 13 years old, practicing their scales while they hear yelling in the downstairs. You know, just like,
I'm gonna play my way out of here.
I'm gonna play my way out of here.
No, it's
right?
true. Yeah, it's
and
a real
so
thing.
a lot of those guys, and I know some of them personally, who just shred unbelievably, but they don't really come from like good situations.
Really good at
Well,
shredding,
also-
really good at fighting games, really good at board games. You know, things that are distractions.
Is it always board games though? Because you got to have some people who are willing to commit.
That's true.
Commitment is,
for ages.
Well, maybe it's the pendulum that swings back and they're ultra committed due to the lack of commitment that their parents had to each other and to the child.
Now we're getting into like the real segment of the
All I
podcast.
could say is that I am in fact a licensed psychologist, and this is all very true information.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, no. I last summer actually was asked to play for a wedding, and I hadn't played in a while.
Okay.
And what should have been a very positive experience ended up being a very negative one because work got really busy at the time, and I took up all this extra freelance work, and so I was just up all night and then also practicing and whatnot, and like I threw up on the side of the road on my way to the wedding because I was so stressed out. But the best part about it,
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Perfect content over here.
but the best part about it though was that something brought me to earth in a way that only bombing can, right? Because I'm sure, any musician who's played has had those moments. Like I remember, doing a serenade at a sorority house for my fraternity, and my bass being 1/2 step tuned down, and we played "Oh Darling," by the Beatles, which is just a bass song, right? Stuff like that, where your whole soul leaves your body, you're flushed. I go to this wedding. First song that we play, it's a Ramones song. It's their one love song. I always forget what it's called, but it's the mother-son dance. First song. They get out there. Our guitarist had been smoking weed.
Oh, no.
Did not know what key we were playing in. We start, whole band comes in. He's at a totally different key. We're sitting there. I'm smiling and playing because that's what a bassist has to do in that scenario.
Yeah.
Right? Looking over, we have to stop. We stop, everybody's staring at us. And I then say, oh, I must be out of tune. And I just start tuning my bass while the guitarist and the drummer are yelling at each other.
Having a conversation
in the back. And then, the mother of the groom is just darting, just looking at me with knives.
Lightning is shooting out of her eye sockets.
You ruined literally the most important day of my life.
Oh my gosh.
Right? And then we're like, they go right into it, and then nobody took us seriously for the rest of the night. Nobody bothered to even watch us play.
Oh, I'm really sorry that happened to you.
Yeah, no, but the thing is though, is that those are the crucible moments that make the rest of the performance,
no, it's true.
worthwhile.
Yeah.
I'm just glad you didn't have to go through that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm getting secondhand embarrassment over here.
Yeah.
Just hearing about
Well,
that.
that's totally a possibility in that scenario though, because you're going out on a limb, you're flying out. I'm sure that you haven't really practiced as much as you thought you were going to practice, and all of that. And
No, I didn't find out about it till the day of.
oh, really?
The day of.
Oh, nice,
Wow.
impressive.
Incredible.
First day of. Well, and
That's that
thankfully-
athleticism coming through.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. No, it
The
was
mindset of an athlete.
It was really fun, and if Shane ever hears this, like it was a really cool thing to get to play with my brother, and like I could totally see a situation where if I were Shane, I would be like, dude, this is my college experience. This is my last show. Like, what? You're not gonna play freaking Joe Dart in front of all of my friends at my show, kind of thing. But instead, he was just like, dude, this would be a huge blessing. I don't want to cut these songs. Like, that was a really wonderful.
I'm surprised he didn't just give you Deantown, because I'd imagine on his list of
that would have
things to
been
do.
maniacal.
It would have been maniacal.
I
been
can't
crazy,
do
yeah.
Deantown.
Yeah, but I it's hard for me to imagine that he would show up and be like, oh man, I'm so busy. What song should I hand off?
Dude,
And
you're
he's
a
like,
bassist.
Animal Spirits, the
You're a
one song
bassist.
everybody does.
Like, if you can do it,
Do it.
If you have it under your fingers,
Well, it's true.
that's the
And
moment.
as he was mentioning, right, it's for his friends. It's a final performance,
Yeah.
right? He's probably like, no.
This is the
my-
third act of a teen comedy.
Yes, this is my magnum opus. This is when the girl finally runs up to me and says, "Wow, I didn't love you before, but now that I know that you're great at playing the bass, kiss me."
And she takes her glasses off, and she's 2 points hotter,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the
hair unfurls.
Yeah.
You're just living Scott Pilgrim.
a stroke song comes in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sure that I'm glad that you didn't rip that from him, because I assume that that's what he was expecting
It's
from
true.
that
It's
night.
true. Guys, this is a good enough time as any
Yeah.
to transition into thanking our Patreon subscribers
Oh, yes.
for providing us the funds that are necessary for us to do this. As you can see, we've got new mics, right? Got a whole
Well, one new mic
one
and
new-
some new mic
It
covers.
doesn't matter. They don't care. We got a better setup going on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Impressive.
It's good stuff. It's all because of you guys. And I want to thank our top 2 patrons, of course, which is Joe Papalardo and Mom and Dad.
Hey,
Thank
there
you
we
so
go.
much. It's great to have you guys. And if you want to hear the Patreon exclusive episode, which we will record after this, that's a $5 tier. This guy, he's crazy right now, but imagine.
I want
Imagine
to
with this-
uncork it.
I know. When there's
Yeah.
no censoring,
Yeah,
dude.
dude.
Yeah.
No,
I've been pinching him under the table the whole time.
My leg
Just
is
to
purple.
Yeah.
It's raw.
just to protect you guys from the things that are going through his mind. All right, so we also have an AMA tier, and Ask Me Anything tier.
Yes.
You can ask us questions. Joe Papalardo was the only one that sent in questions this week. So let's go over this one. Now this is for the crew.
Yeah.
What is an obsession you had that seemed like it would be a lifelong hobby, but turned out to be just a brief phase, right? And what is the shortest hobby you mistakenly thought was going to be lifelong? Now, this is tough for me because, obviously whales often are just that, right? Where
Yeah.
you sort of fantasize when you get into something like, oh, this is going to be my thing.
Yes.
I'm going to, buy all of the equipment necessary to build model ships, right? And you're like looking up all the stuff on model ships. And you're like, this could be my thing. And so I almost feel like that happens semi-frequently because it's always in the back of your head. But, maybe there are those that, you take a grip for a little extra longer, so it solidifies in your mind that maybe this is going to be my thing, right?
Well, in my mind, as a guy who was a history major, and I still, dabble as a historian, I read books, but I'll every once in a while.
That's all they do.
Yeah,
That's
it's
all
all
historians do.
historians
Yeah, yeah.
honestly
They
do.
read
They
books.
read
Yeah,
books,
yeah,
but I will, every other week I'll start reading a book and I'll be like, I'm going to be the guy.
Mhm.
I will be the perfect history of the Romanov dynasty. I got this, and you're like, I figured it out. This is going to be my thing. And then, halfway through the book, you're like, never mind. Right?
Well, maybe not.
Yeah, it's like I could read about, South Africa. I could just do that instead, et cetera. It's just, there's constantly these little obsessions. And, the difference between an actual historian and somebody like me is that they actually go through with it and they start reading the primary source documents, and et cetera. And,
Yeah. Like with any of those minor obsessions. I know for me, the biggest one was probably the board game Twilight Imperium, right? Which
I've heard legends about
I
this.
know.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a legendary thing, and
Yeah.
we did it all the time. Honestly,
2 years, dude.
2 years. Yeah, we did it on an average once every 2 months. The games lasted on average 8 hours long.
My
we would meet
word.
together, and this is
I
why
thought Scythe was long.
Scythe is nothing. That's baby. That's baby stuff. This table right here was purchased with the exclusive purpose of being able to host a game of TI on it, right? Like it was a big enough table to make that happen. And so that being said, I did that for there's an ad.
Thank you to our sponsor.
Yeah, thank you to our Taco Bell. Thank
Taco
you.
Bell.
Can we bring the cow back on? Hey, here he is. Yeah.
This is funny. We've literally not had like technical issues of any sort the
I
entire
know.
show.
I bring it with me.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
sorry.
This is
Jeez,
classic.
come
It's me,
on.
dude.
Yeah.
So anyway, I spent a lot of time on it, and then just the other day, and this is going to mean nothing to people that don't know anything about the game, but like they released a new faction for free to everybody, at no cost, just as a surprise. And had it been 2 years ago, I would have listened to 3 different podcasts about that faction. I would have been, ready to go to print it out and laminate it and get it all ready to go. I would have been psyched. It would have been the only thing I thought about for a time. But now it's just, I'm like, oh, that's cool.
That's
Maybe
just life,
if we
though.
can do it again someday. But
How
yeah.
long has it been since you played? Like, wait,
Oh, I mean, it's probably been 6 months, maybe 7. Yeah, it gets to the point where life, comes crashing in like a meteorite, and you just don't get to
I just
do
feel
something.
like I'm watching your childhood end. It's hurting me.
In a way, yeah.
What about
Boy.
you? What do you got? You got something?
I mean,
in the chamber?
there are a handful
There's
because I'm
many.
like I am an obsessive personality type.
Yeah, yeah.
Like so my brother Calvin started playing chess like really seriously, playing a lot of chess,
yes.
and I thought, well, he's not gonna beat me, right? So then pretty soon I was playing like 11 or 12 blitz games at lunch every single day, and like studying openings and like going like really deep in YouTube on chess or whatever. And that was relatively short lived. Like I still love the game and I still play quite a bit, but I'm
you
not,
play
like,
for the love of the
obsessive.
game, not
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not to be Magnus Carlsen.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna be Magnus Carlsen, dude. But
It ain't gonna happen.
it makes me think though. It makes me think what you were saying a second ago. Like I think we live in a culture that is constantly telling us we can be whatever we want, and the only barrier to being that is effort and dedication.
Which is almost true in a lot of ways.
Well, I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there's an aspect of talent, of course, involved, right? Like, 'cause
Yes.
you can't be the best chess player probably because you didn't start at a young enough age. You don't have, the economic
Okay, but no, this
ability
is-
to do so. But
I don't want to cut you off, but this
No,
is
go
the
for
lie.
it.
This
Go
is
for
the
it.
lie. Like
Yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah.
articulating the lie.
Yeah, yeah.
The lie is that the only thing that you're missing is talent plus effort.
Yeah.
yeah,
That just isn't true.
yeah,
Like
What-
that's
what-
just not true.
Well, what other things are you missing?
Like who do you know?
True.
Are you in the right spot at the right time? Like let's go back to music for a second, right? So like take a chunk of people that all want to be professional musicians.
Yeah.
Take an eighth of them, and you have the people with the talent. Okay, so that's your new set.
Yeah.
Take an eighth of those, and you have the people with the talent and the drive.
Yeah.
Take an eighth of those people with the talent and the drive,
And put them in LA.
and put them in LA and
Yeah.
see what happens, right? Because
Yeah.
eventually it's going to come down to this guy over here whose skills and experience are identical to this other dude happens to know a producer.
Yeah.
And that's just what it comes down to.
No, yeah,
right?
I
Like
agree.
fame and fortune is not accessible, but the entire culture is organized around making you feel like it's accessible.
Yeah.
No, yeah, or
and that-
or there is a distinct possibility that anybody could do it.
Right.
Well, the
yeah.
difference
Right.
actually, I think, now is the classic, Warholism that in the future everybody's going to be famous for 15 minutes, where nowadays, because of social media and whatnot, we have this extra level of delusion that's created by the grassroots nature of fame,
Yep.
right?
I think you're right.
More often than not, if you're grassroots famous, it's because you're getting owned online. You're the Twitter main character or something. But
a good way to put that
they
in a
get
row.
rid of
Yeah,
your
yeah.
book
That's
deal.
awesome.
But
Yeah.
people are on TikTok. People are on TikTok. What? Sounds like a Boston
on
mom.
TikTok.
Yeah.
They're on TikTok. They're
You've
on
been in the Midwest for too long.
TikTok, Instagram, etc. And they're seeing all these people, and they're like, "Wow, this person who's of middling talent, but is somehow been blessed by the algorithm and is now comparatively famous." And even though
And
The
also
Island Boys. You're talking about the
The
Island
Island
Boys.
Boys.
Oh my God.
And not only that,
I love the Island Boys. Ironically.
They're great. Yeah,
I love
just
that you have to say ironically.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
true an American dream story right there. Yeah.
I didn't say ironically. I said unironically. I love the Island Boys.
Yeah, I love the Island Boys,
It's funny because if you actually add a beat behind, and this is something Shad showed me, if you add a beat behind their freestyle, it actually works. It actually sounds
Get
good. But the
outta
fact
here
that they
with
do
that
it a
nonsense.
cappella with
Yeah, yeah.
nothing, it just it pulls them down.
It's beautiful and Floridian. I love it.
Yeah. Anyway, the other aspect that we're not talking about is the financial aspect behind it too, right?
Yeah.
It's not only that, but like the Island Boys get, $2 million over the course of whatever period of time that they're famous, right? They're not like maybe made for life, but it's like, out of very little effort and being in the right place in the right time, I now have an enormous amount of money, which does a couple of things. One is corrupt and, make them sort of
I don't know how much further the Island Boys
I
can
know.
go.
Yeah, we might have to switch to something else.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they filled like a hot tub with cough syrup. So I don't know how further down.
but maybe they did that for the clout, right?
Yes, because of
Post.
the drive.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Because of the initial.
Have you seen the video where they're like training for a boxing match and challenging someone?
No.
Promise me to watch it.
Jamie,
Yeah.
pull it up. No. can't be
This
that.
is next level hilarious.
Yeah.
Man. Oh my word.
There is a beauty to that's a whole new thing now too, the influencer boxing thing. Or that's just the
it's
way to
crazy.
get clout now.
No,
is
it's
you
also not
challenge
only the
people
way to get
boxing.
club, but a way to get money.
Yeah.
Right? Just
Well, it's
straight up
stupid
funds.
lucrative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's
Stupid lucrative. Yeah. So I think actually the thing that the Island Boys indicates, and thank you so much for bringing up the Island
welcome.
Boys. It
I
really
can't
is
believe we
adding
hadn't talked about them
Podcast
already.
101. Mention the Island Boys.
But is the age thing, right? Because not only are people getting more famous quicker, and for shorter periods of time, but at a younger age.
Yes.
Right. And then that has the ability and power.
Well, I mean, at a higher frequency at a younger age, right? Because that's always been a facet, but like, it's almost like a majority of people that are getting famous, especially through that lens, are all under the age of 20 years old, right? Is sort of how it feels.
I mean, under the age of 16.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually, kind of, I would say, terrifying.
Well, it also perpetuates the idea that like whatever it is that you're going to do that's actually eternally valuable is probably going to be done under the age of 25. And so if you haven't done anything spectacular and valuable by the time you're 25, you're washed up.
Yeah.
Which is
Not
like
the case.
If you look at any intellectual discipline of any kind, everybody does their best work in their 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
Like everybody, unless you're Keats.
Yeah.
Like it's Keats and then it's everyone else in the world does their best work in their 50s and 60s.
Yeah. And then part of that, that perpetuates that, though, is the democratization of art, period.
Okay.
Right.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. Well, because, pre-rock and roll revolution, right, you sort of did have to be 45 to make music, right? Like the Roy Orbisons of the world weren't spring chickens.
There's a name.
Yeah, and
There is a name.
I'm sorry. He's like the wholesome. He's like one of the wholesome country boys from like the pre-Elvis days. But when you get into punk as a movement, when you get into the fact that it's now mythologized that all great musicians die at 27, which is insane.
Yeah.
Right. That it perpetuates this fame-oriented drive where art is actually democratized now, and because it's democratized, the young and forward-thinking are the ones who have a monopoly over it, and so they continue to kind of perpetuate this. You have to be young to do your best work. Some of the best guitarists alive right now, probably one of the best guitarists alive ever, are probably alive right now, but they're all playing for Steely Dan cover bands and being studio musicians.
Yeah,
right. It's just but they're not famous because they're not Kurt Cobain.
They're not marketable in a way.
Well, and how much of it is, and this will be as the editor of my other podcast, how much of it is we don't understand what art is even for anymore?
Yeah.
True. I mean, outside of distraction, right? Like that seems to be one of the primary, or the primary
distraction,
reason behind it.
Self-aggrandizement,
right? Those things.
Entertainment.
Yeah.
I mean, not popular to say it, but art is not supposed to be about entertainment.
In the long term, yes.
Yeah,
well,
no.
I mean, I do understand. Oh yeah, I do understand that, but also there is a facet of art where I don't think it's illegitimate to make art exclusively for entertainment.
Sure.
Right.
No.
Well, it's like it's definitely lucrative, and you need to feed your family.
A good example of
it's
this
not like
is
they're
that's
unlegitimate.
when you're talking about like the unskilled guy. A good example of this are like the blue collar authors, like the guys who write novelizations of movies.
Yeah.
Or like 50 D&D books, like they send their kids to college. That's all that matters. Yeah. Right. And like
I know a man who was an editor on the Left Behind series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Paid for his first car.
Yeah, exactly.
There
Pays
you
for your
go.
first
What are you
car.
gonna do?
Right. And that's important. That's good.
He only got first car buddy off of that.
Well, he got out of there pretty quick.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 'Cause in the long term.
yeah.
He eventually looked up. He was like, "Nah, I don't want to be part of this."
Yeah, exactly. But it's you got to have those people, and that's impressive, and that's a part of the artistic ecosystem and whatnot. But when at the height of the artistic ecosystem, chipping away at capital B beauty and truth has nothing to do with what you're doing. It's more of a a good example of this is that modern art is essentially money laundering. Yeah, right. Are you familiar
You
with
heard
this?
it here first.
No,
What?
no. I mean, it's true.
Yeah, you haven't heard about this?
No. Hit me.
Yeah.
Hit me
It's
with
been
it.
in the
This is amazing.
conversation because that's what they say Hunter Biden is doing with his paintings. Is that he's selling them exclusively.
Yeah,
to
getting really like political. Not really, but
No.
this isn't. This
that's-
isn't about Hunter Biden.
I'm not making an assessment
Yeah.
here. I'm just saying it's in the conversation.
even though that's definitely true.
yeah,
but
it's definitely happening. Yeah.
a lot of like modern art that as the average person you're looking at and being baffled by, and there'll be some headline that will say, some guy who just painted something blue, sold his piece for $500 million, making it the most expensive, et cetera, and you're like, what? How the hell? And how did he do that? Why are we advertising
Why are
Tubi
we getting
TV?
Tubi ads going on, dude? What is happening?
Video will play after this ad. It's okay.
Look at him. He had so much hair.
Yeah.
We've never had this issue.
Okay.
What is happening?
Regardless,
it doesn't matter. Yeah.
I just want to see all the great films and movies that
Tubi
That
provides.
Tubi has to
provides.
offer.
Back
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
dancing cow.
Yeah.
What was I saying? So you watch that and you say, "Oh wow, how the hell did this sell for $500 million?"
Yeah.
It's because a Chinese oligarch bought it for $500 million because he's trying to move money out of the country. It's like that's literally just it. That's why, right?
Yeah.
That makes so much sense. It's painful.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
And this is
it's mostly rich, upper 1%ers moving money around, right?
Whoa.
Buying it and then trading it to other people, selling it to them.
extra fun fact. And I only know all this stuff because my wife's an artist, and she's like, so why do you think all this stuff ends up in a museum, right? And like you go to a museum and this stuff is there for some reason. At the MoMA or whatever, the Seattle,
Yes.
the Seattle Art Museum or whatever.
Yes, this fit.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's because
super frustrating.
you buy it for $500 million, which you did to move money around. Then you donate it to the museum. That's a $500 million tax break because it's a nonprofit organization. That's considered a charitable donation.
So you set the amount of money that your donation is worth by your own purchase. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Stupid.
My head is literally spinning right now. Like, I can't believe this level of skullduggery.
Yeah, it's intense, but
It's low-key conspiracy going on
Yeah.
right now, yeah.
so let's go.
We have to contractually do 2 questions.
Okay.
Okay, what's the next question?
for the sake of the patrons.
I want to keep talking about this, but
Yeah. This other question from Joe Papalardo.
Yeah.
Do couples develop whales together? Is that a possibility? Right. I think personally, this really depends on how in sync you are with your significant other in your hobbies, right? And obviously with a lot of things, particular hobbies, one of you is going to be a lot more into it than the other individual.
Sure.
What comes to mind with you guys?
That's tough because my wife and I are very different personality types.
Yeah. Same.
And so, like the things that we enjoy doing together, like we watch a lot of long form TV drama.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
prestige television.
Exactly. Prestige television. So like that's definitely
We're talking
for
like
us,
Downton Abbey style situation.
That's not what prestige television means.
No.
but-
No. Okay, I'm trying to parse it out. We're talking Breaking Bad kind of long term drama per se.
we're talking True Detective, The
Yes.
Wire, The Sopranos,
Yes.
like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think for us that's more of a literary obsession, which maybe makes it count as work. Like
Yeah,
I don't even
yeah.
know. Like the transition from short story writing, your standard like 2-hour feature film, into novelization is really fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And the number of brains associated with it is really fascinating to me. So I think that qualifies as a whale for us.
I think we have a copy of the True Detective guy's novel on this shelf.
Galveston.
Might be out though. Yes. Don't read it.
man.
It's
Not good?
It's too much.
Well, I think it's generally good. I wouldn't say that it is like one of the best novels or whatever written.
Sure.
It's definitely in the top 50%, but it's not like crazy good.
Yeah.
And also it is, like True Detective, incredibly draining from a emotional standpoint.
Yeah.
Right.
And unlike True Detective, it has a very, I would argue True Detective also, season 1, has a very hollow optimism at the end.
Yeah.
Same situation.
All right. Before we get into this, dude, I have an actual real answer to the question, which is that you actually get your whales when you have responsibilities.
Word.
Right. Like you buy a house. I mean, I think all 3 of us are homeowners. Are you a homeowner?
Yeah.
Your whale actually becomes, how do I turn this place not into a crap hole?
No,
you know
it's
what
totally
I mean?
true.
There's a certain,
And you both have skin in the game.
you have both have
all
the skin in the game,
perspectives.
and that's
your whale is getting a cash out refi. To
Yeah.
get a new kitchen in your house.
exactly. And so there's a difference between, as I think when you're dating, it's different because you're like, we got to figure out ways to be on the same page and enjoy the same things. And like, that's important to do when you're married too. But when you're married, it's like, we also have to figure out how to do life,
Yeah.
Your whale becomes your budget. Your whale becomes
Feeding yourself.
the lawn.
That's true. Yeah.
So-
I agree. I think there's a lot of just, standard, like, my wife and I really like to watch Columbo together, right? Like that's a whale, from the pure definition we have set as a whale, but it's not as all-encompassing as the real big things, as you've mentioned, right?
Yeah.
That actually take the amount of, the emotion and the sweat and the blood and the tears required to, make it happen, right? So hopefully it is both of your whales, and hopefully both of you are just as dedicated to it, and that, one of you is not a little bit less dedicated to such things. Like, maybe your husband is just not as quite as
Into what?
into working on the house every day. Just like to take a break every once in a while, and it's okay to take a break sometimes.
It is.
You don't have to always be doing it. But anyway,
Tell me about your father.
Yeah. Actually, no. Dad, a real hard worker.
Workaholic, dude.
Yeah.
yeah.
But he's the reason why I love the lawn so much.
Same.
What's your lawn feel?
I've been resisting the lawn. Dude.
You've been resisting
I've been
the lawn.
resisting it hardcore. So I tore out my front yard.
Yeah.
And planted like from seed and grew
Nice.
good. So that was like an accomplishment. I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
But then I do so much traveling in the spring.
Yeah.
That like I'm always coming home either to a jungle or like a wasteland.
Yeah.
One of the two. And so it's really hard to like keep on track. My wife, however, was raised in a family where like they're not on their hands and knees with like scissors.
Yeah.
But they may as well be with how much they spend on and focus on the lawn.
Yeah.
So I'm out of my depth here.
It's true.
Yeah.
See, there you go. We've got
Got it in balance.
unequally yoked
Unequally
individuals.
yoked.
Yes.
I think that. So my dad, he would always be really upset when we would mow. And I always thought it was because we did a bad job or something. But now that I've mowed, I've totally understood it. Where, you put your headphones in, you put your headphones over your headphones, right? And then you just turn your brain off.
Yep.
And you just do your thing. You listen to your audiobook, your podcast, your
just
music.
striping.
And you're just striping.
Yep.
Right? And again, it's like monkey brain.
Yeah.
You're like, it's like you're painting something. It's like one way, now it's another. And it's better.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
and not only
thank God.
that, you actually feel like you are being productive
Yeah.
for doing something that in general, it's not super, intensive, but at the end of it, you're like, oh, there's something tangible I've done.
It's true.
And it's improved the value
And
of
you
my
have something
home.
else to hold over your neighbors.
Yeah.
Do you think do you think that part of that is related to like the fact that we all work on the internet now?
Oh,
And you don't
100%.
have
Oh,
a
no,
tangible
for
like
sure.
product
Oh,
or
yeah.
labor.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've told myself a million times that, if I had any guts, I would just stop whatever I'm doing and become a plumber. Right. You make good money. It's not intensive intellectually, but like, you don't have to like think, and you like go and you make things.
Yeah.
And you go improve homes.
I have a dear friend who's a journeyman plumber. He loves it. He's really good at it.
I can't believe you become a journeyman as a deer. That's got to be tough. It's got to be tough. With your hooves. Yeah, good for him, dude.
That was a stupid joke.
That was terrible. Wait, dad joke. Does that qualify? Are you a father?
I'm not a father.
Then
No,
get out of here with the dad jokes, man. Come on, dude. You gotta hold yourself in readiness.
I did.
Yeah, it's
I
true.
literally
Yourself in readiness.
took a whole 30 seconds of me being like, I shouldn't say that.
I'm gonna say it.
That's dumb.
Oh
Any
my
damn
gosh.
way,
Yeah, no. I kind of speaking back to the artistic question, I was reading this article by Matthew Walther, and he was writing about how now, because of how democratized art is, everybody only feels competent in interpreting pop art.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So the average individual, who says, I'm going to be a critic or whatnot, is more likely to write for Polygon or Vice or something about the new Doctor Strange movie than they are about anything of actual consequence, right? It's much easier for you to read YA than it is for you to read Finnegan's Wake and actually, somehow figure that out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's like
And not only it's a lot easier to say something that is perceived as smart about it.
Exactly.
Too, right.
and you can actually add a whole nother level
Shots
of.
fired.
Well, no, it's true. I mean, you can read way more into it than is actually present too, which
Yeah.
is
Oh my gosh. yes.
super popular right now, especially
Absolutely.
in like the Marvel movies fan sphere, right? To just be like, this is actually cinematically important as a series, which we have a total fanboy over here behind the camera. But
I'm interested in that conversation.
Yeah.
I'm interested in that conversation.
yeah. What about it?
Well, do you think it's actually like cinematically important?
I think it's cinematically important. I don't necessarily know if what is being said by the films is cinematically important, if that makes any sense.
Sure. So they're
Right.
important. Yeah. In what sense?
They are important in crafting the landscape of film.
You mean commercially important?
Yes.
Commercially important.
Yes,
Yeah.
but they're not important when it comes to establishing and
important.
improving the artistic nature of film.
Yeah.
I think I
Right.
agree with you.
Yeah. In fact, I mean, it's sadly, I don't think it's crazy to say that they have more tangible impact on the film industry, in the long term than say a Best Picture winner or anything like that, or like anything that's in the running for a Best Picture. Right, which is what we hold up as the artistic films, like regardless
Except
of
that
how
the
good
Oscars
they
are
are.
total trash.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And regardless, that's what we hold up as such.
Right.
They're not making nearly as much of a splash in any sense as the 5 Marvel movies that come out in a year.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
Right.
That's totally fair.
Well, so the difference, though, I think in my mind is it takes 20 minutes, and I think there's a certain beauty to it, actually. It takes you 20 minutes to understand what, Six Pack by Black Flag is about, right? It's about a bunch of boys drinking a six pack, and there's a fast drum beat and good guitars, and people are yelling, right? And you're like, yeah, hell yeah, brother.
And you also get the serotonin boost of understanding
exactly
what it's about.
And plus, you know,
right?
as a guy, I love moshing. I love moshing. I love simple and aggressive music. I love it, right? I love getting in the pit, you know, running
Throwing
into
some
dudes.
elbows.
Hey, that's bad form. You're not supposed to throw elbows.
Everybody does it.
Yeah.
I think that was more of a confession than anything else.
Yeah,
but,
exactly. I love getting in the pit. You know, I love punk music. You know, and I'm not saying this to be derivative. You know, to tear it down because I think it has an important value, but it takes more than 20 minutes to understand what Beethoven is up to, right?
Yes.
And to be the kind of guy to sit there with a glass of wine and actually sit there and interact with and enjoy what it is that you're seeing. And this applies to everything, you know. Like films now are like this, music is like this, board games and video games are like this too. You know, much more accessible, quick rule sets. You know, you learn it and you figure it out. You sit down, you play. Right. It used to be that if you wanted to play a role playing game, you'd have to read like a War and Peace level length novel that was just comprised of mathematical tables.
Yeah.
Guys.
You know.
So
You guys.
yeah. What time are we at? Just hit 50.
Just keep going. We can go.
for it.
we can
Okay,
go
so
to
my
pre-Patreon.
wife and I were looking for a whale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a topic of conversation. She was like, listen, we have
Yeah.
to find something that we can do just the two of us because I'm sick and tired of having people over to the house.
Yeah.
I want it to just be us, right?
Yeah.
So we went out looking for a board game. And what we came home with was The Civil War. Are you aware of this game?
I have a copy in this house.
Right now.
Yes.
Yes.
It may not. It may be a different Civil War simulation.
Let me see
You
this.
should go grab it. It might be the same.
So the experience was hilarious. I was like,
Yeah.
if you really want to do this, I'll pick it up.
Yeah.
So we picked it up. It's old school.
Yeah.
Like a 70s game.
this might be it. The American Civil War.
No, this is not it.
Oh, okay.
This is not it.
Similar, I assume.
So you'll have to tell me whether that one's anywhere near this complex.
Yeah.
I hold a bachelor's degree
Yeah.
from Hillsdale College.
And you're in the process of getting a master's degree.
I'm in the process of getting an MDiv.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm not a stupid person.
Well,
And
A lot of people have bachelor's
I
degrees.
could not
Yeah.
begin to understand the rules of this
Yeah.
game. I could not do it. Like the rule book is like, I don't know, 75, 80 pages of teeny tiny text.
Yeah.
I went on YouTube. That's what you do. Let's go find someone playing this game. They're playing it with tweezers because the pieces are so small. And the shortest instructional video is for one stage of one campaign. The guy like teaching you to play the game was a college professor who assigns it to his grad school students so that they can learn the dynamics of like economics in the Civil War.
Yeah. And I'm sure that's
We don't
like,
make games like that.
Yeah. No, we
No,
don't.
we
do
don't.
that. And I'm
Yeah,
just saying they're talking about resource
so
nodes and like.
we do make
Yeah.
games like that now, right? We do, right? Like you know what are they? The 80XX games, like all those train games.
Yeah.
You know, there are those games being made, but they've become even more niche than they used to be because those guys that played it back when it came out in the 70s have all found each other, made their own insular group, and they just build it and make it themselves.
just-
and then,
Yeah.
and then they,
Yeah.
you know, more often than not, the most radical of those groups. So they're like, let's up it even further.
Yeah.
You know, you have to have more
add
than
additional stimulation to it.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, no, it's wild, and this is like a whole nother conversation for a whole nother time. But I do feel like most of everything is sort of like that now,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
right? You know, it used to be. People are saying that we need to bring back intermissions because movies are longer now, which I think this is kind of true. Like everything's like 3.5 hours long now. But it used to be that the movie was that long and it was a day of it. You would go, you would sit down,
No,
the whole town would be there. You wear your Sunday best.
Been good to have an intermission in it.
Dune would
I
have been
think-
good with that.
I think that
intermission.
would
I
be
think I might agree with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that would have been a good call.
Yeah, but like Dune is a good example. If Dune came out in 1953, everybody would wear their Sunday best and enjoy the Kwisatz Haderach. I just love the idea of actually,
The knick-knack paddywhack.
Yeah.
Come on now.
yeah, I love the idea of everybody sitting in a theater in the 1960s or whatever, and Hans Zimmer's score just blaring through the city speakers. Their eyes are melting out of their heads.
Yeah.
Totally.
What is happening?
I got to shout out Ellen Andrews for the knick-knack paddywhack.
Oh, is that her?
That's her.
That's her Quetzet. The
That's
Quetzet
Ellen.
Shadrach is
Yep.
the knick-knack paddywhack. That sounds like an Ellen, isn't
That's
it?
all we
It
say
does.
now.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm bummed that her and Aaron weren't out here for
I know it.
graduation.
I know
It'd be
it. I
good
wish
to
they
see
could've
them.
been here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would have loved to have him as a fourth chair. Would have been a meme.
Oh,
Oh,
that would have
dude.
been so fun.
Ian's fun, but Aaron?
Yeah, man.
You got to meet my brother.
Yeah,
I'm telling
you guys, come on. Let's just say that we got the inferior Andrews.
That's absolutely true, and everyone would agree with you. Like,
Yeah. Most people would.
Dude, tell the people what you're doing. You got
Yeah.
those 2 podcasts. Tell them again what they are, where they can find them.
For sure.
Put your name out there.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah. So the one podcast is BiblioFiles, as you put it. How did you put it? Conversations about art and
The modern pop culture and art and the eternal.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
I'm taking it home with me. That's really good stuff.
You took it home for the 25 minutes.
Yeah,
It
that's
didn't seem. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Fair enough. Yeah, fine. So yeah, BiblioFiles is one show, and then the other is How to Eat an Elephant, where we take a doorstopper of a classic novel, 5 chapters at a time, and discuss.
Yes.
Come read along with us. It's a good time.
BiblioFiles is spelt Files, by the way.
Because we are merry punsters till we die.
Exactly.
There you
exactly.
go. That's an Andrew, let me tell you. Andrews.
Andrew.
There is an S. Yeah, there's an S.
It is an S. Yeah. Would you dude? Come on.
I know
You know-
there's an S, but would you say an Andrews?
How many? You know how
Or
many times
one of the Andrews?
Andrews apostrophe.
Andrews apostrophe.
Andrews.
Aren't there rules about that?
I don't know,
Dude, I was an English major. I
We
couldn't
only
tell
do
you.
that with Jesus.
Yeah.
I think. Isn't that the only word we do that
Yeah,
with?
and we are not going to put the Andrews up to a Jesus level.
no,
dude.
we're not
No,
gonna do that.
no.
Blasphemy. Yeah.
Blasphemy indeed. But
Thank you all for listening.
thanks for all for listening.
And thanks for coming in.
Dude,
That's
thank
good
you
to
guys
see
for having me. This
Yes.
is a blast.
This
Absolute
has
blast.
been fun.
Check out the Patreon, everybody.
Dude, we're going to keep going.
Yep.
It's going to keep rolling. And maybe it'll get a little steamy. Who knows? We might have to talk about True Detective. We'll see.